Shop Talk.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Shop Talk. We're here today with Miss Kansas USA 2015, Alexis Railsback. Alexis, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So how did you get started in pageants?
I did my first pageant when I was 17 and I competed in Miss Kansas Teen USA and I ended up placing in the top 5. So I came back the next year, placed in the top 15, and that was my last year in the teenage division. So I moved on to the Miss division, and Miss Kansas USA was my first time, and I was one of the youngest competitors that year, and I ended up winning on my first try, so it was surprising.
What got you interested in that?
Well, I grew up watching the Miss USA and Miss Universe pageants when I was little, and it was something I always enjoyed watching, and I always looked up to the title holders and the women on those pageants just because of the confidence that they portrayed on stage, and I didn't think about competing until I got a little bit older, so that's how I decided to do it.
How much time does that take up?
It takes up a lot of time. There's a lot of preparation that goes into it physically and mentally. You obviously have to stay in good physical shape and you have to have proper nutrition and diet and exercise. So that's a big part, but you also have to mentally prepare yourself and prepare yourself for the interview competition and just being there the whole weekend. So it goes into a lot and it takes a while, a couple months, maybe even a year, depending on how long you've been working for it.
How do you prepare for the interview part? Because sometimes, when I'm watching, I always feel bad,
right,
for some of the ones that maybe don't do as well as they'd like. I mean, is that tough to prepare for that?
It is tough because you have to keep your nerves under control. I think that's the most important thing. As long as you have your nerves under control and you feel comfortable, then answering the questions is pretty easy. And then of course you have to stay up to date with current events in the news in case they might ask you things about that. You have to be prepared to give your opinion on controversial topics, or they might just ask you questions about yourself. So the most important thing is that you just stay calm, and I think that's the key to have a good interview.
Have your parents had a lot to do with you wanting to do this, or just preparing you to do this?
It was something that I wanted to do on my own, so I didn't grow up doing pageants, and my parents didn't push me to do a pageant when I was little or anything, but once I told them that I wanted to start competing in pageants, they've always been very supportive, and my whole family's been happy for me and supportive too. So they've influenced me a lot, and they've helped me get where I am.
So tell me a little bit about the Miss Kansas pageant. How long did it take you to prepare for that, and how was your experience?
I prepared for Miss Kansas USA for 1 year, and it was a really good experience for me preparing for it because it taught me a lot of discipline and how to multitask, because I was going to school and working part-time at the same time while preparing for it. So it taught me how to multitask and have discipline and be determined, and the pageant itself is a 3-day long competition over a weekend in Wichita, and it was a really fun experience. It's very laid back the whole weekend. It's not stressful at all, and you get to meet a lot of good people, so I've made a lot of friends through it.
So you're representing Kansas at the Miss USA pageant. Are you excited about that? And tell me about that.
I'm really excited for it. It's always been one of my lifelong dreams to compete at Miss USA. So I've been having a really fun time preparing for it the past 6 months and working with my coaches and my sponsors and my director and getting myself ready for it. And it's coming up in 2 weeks. It'll be July 12th in Baton Rouge. And so I'm excited to get to know the city of Baton Rouge and to meet all the contestants that I haven't met before. And I think it'll be really fun.
So you're a lifelong Kansan. How does it feel to represent Kansas at an event like this?
It feels really good because I'm really proud to be from Kansas and to represent my hometown of Shawnee, because I had a really good and positive experience growing up there. So it feels really good, and I'm really proud to represent Kansas.
What, win or lose, what does your next year look like?
Well, if I do win Miss USA, then I will have to fly to New York the next morning and live there for 1 year. And I will share an apartment in New York City with Miss Universe and Miss Teen USA, and then I'll eventually go compete at the Miss Universe pageant. So I'll spend my year in New York City doing a lot of events around the country. But if I don't win, then I just plan on going back to school, continuing my education, and continuing my reign as Miss Kansas USA until November, and working with different organizations and charities, and just doing as many appearances as I can.
What would you say to a young girl who was maybe interested in this kind of path?
I think I would tell her that if it's something she's really interested in and something that she can't stop thinking about, then she should definitely go for it, because you never know what's going to happen if you take risks and if you pursue your dreams. And that's the biggest thing that I would want to make clear to her, is that it would be a really good experience, win or lose.
I was talking with your dad earlier. He said when you were little, you were a little shy. Do you think this has helped you, blossom? It
definitely has. I was really shy growing up, and as I got older, I kind of got over it, but I was still always a more introverted person. And at school, I would get nervous to do presentations or public speaking, and after I did my first pageant, which was my junior year in high school, I really felt like a new person after that. And I remember going back to school that Monday after the pageant feeling like a completely new person, and it completely got rid of my stage fright and my fear of public speaking, and it's really given me like a confidence that I didn't have before.
All right. Well, Alexis, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
And good luck in Baton Rouge.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for joining us on this edition of Shop Talk.